Have you ever felt your day suddenly darken when someone lashes out with hurtful words, leaving you wondering how to respond without losing your composure? Do you sometimes find yourself replaying negative interactions in your mind, feeling the weight of those toxic encounters draining your energy hours or even days later? Have you noticed that certain people seem to consistently bring chaos into your life, testing your patience and peace of mind at every turn? Today, I'm going to share 13 powerful Stoic strategies that will transform how you deal with toxic people, helping you maintain your inner peace while navigating life's most challenging relationships. These ancient wisdom practices have guided emperors and philosophers through tumultuous times, and they can serve as your compass through modern relationship challenges as well. Imagine moving through your day with an unshakable sense of calm, regardless of who crosses your path. This isn't about avoiding difficult people, but about mastering yourself in their presence. Let's begin this journey together. Lesson number 1: self-awareness and boundaries. You've likely encountered someone who seems to push all your buttons, spreading negativity like a cloud of smoke that makes it difficult to think clearly. These toxic individuals can make you question your worth, your decisions, and even your reality. But what if I told you there's a way to navigate through this fog without losing yourself? It begins with self-awareness, the foundation upon which all Stoic practices are built. Like knowing you're allergic to smoke helps you avoid breathing it in. Understanding your responses to toxic people empowers you to maintain emotional distance. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When you're aware of how someone affects your thoughts, you can choose whether to allow their influence to color your inner world. Picture yourself as a fencer who knows precisely when to step aside. Each time a toxic person lashes out, you execute a perfect sidestep. This doesn't require confrontation or counterattack, just a quiet, unshakable knowledge of who you are and what boundaries you need to protect. Turning this understanding into daily practice isn't as difficult as you might think. Consider it like learning to drive, something that requires full concentration at first but eventually becomes second nature. When faced with negativity, take a moment to ask yourself, why does this bother me? Or, what can I learn from this interaction? These questions aren't about making excuses for others, but about reinforcing your own mental fortitude. This path won't be free of obstacles. There will be days when reacting seems easier than responding thoughtfully. But remember, you're not choosing restraint because it's easy, but because it aligns with who you want to be. This is about building an inner fortress, not from arrogance, but from a place of strength and calm. Lesson number 2: forgiveness without forgetting. Turn your gaze toward the night sky. Notice how stars shine brilliantly despite the surrounding darkness. These stars represent people who add value to your life, illuminating your path with understanding and empathy. Then there are black holes, those toxic individuals who seem to pull you into their darkness, draining your joy and energy. Is there a way to navigate this cosmic dance of relationships without getting consumed by these negative forces? Imagine yourself as a spaceship fueled not by hydrogen but by courage and wisdom. This courage manifests as forgiveness, the power that frees you from the chains of resentment that bind you to painful interactions. Epictetus taught us, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Forgiveness is within your power, and it benefits you far more than the person being forgiven. It releases you from carrying the weight of anger and allows you to reclaim your peace. Yet every spaceship needs a navigation system. This is your memory, the keeper of life's lessons, the quiet voice reminding you to chart a different course when a known danger appears on your path. Our past encounters with toxicity aren't burdens to bear, but points on a star map guiding us towards safer journeys. This delicate balance between forgiveness and memory creates the compass that guides us through the complex constellation of human relationships. Forgiveness propels us forward, while memory helps us navigate wisely, avoiding repeating painful patterns. In this intricate dance of relationships, strive to be like a spaceship that plots its course through cosmic chaos with refined grace, powered by forgiveness and guided by the wisdom of experience. Lesson number 3: emotional stability through detachment. Navigating life surrounded by toxic individuals can feel like walking through dense fog, where each step feels uncertain and your destination unclear. But what if there was a way to clear this fog? It begins within, through developing emotional stability cultivated by Stoic practice. Think about that person you know who remains unruffled regardless of the chaos surrounding them. Like a mountain standing firm against howling winds, they maintain their composure. This isn't about becoming cold or indifferent, but about recognizing what truly lies within your control. Seneca reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The essence of Stoicism teaches that our power lies in our response, not in attempting to control what cannot be controlled. When faced with toxicity, we can pause and create space between stimulus and response. It's like finding yourself in the eye of a hurricane. Everything is wild on the outside, but here in the center, there's calm. This space allows us to breathe, think, and then act from a place of rational tranquility rather than reactivity. We achieve this through practicing mindfulness, observing our thoughts and emotions without being swept away by them. Mindfulness isn't about ignoring toxicity, but acknowledging it without letting it dictate our inner state. It's understanding that like clouds in the sky, difficult moments will pass. So the next time you find yourself surrounded by negativity, remember that you are the architect of your peace. Build it strong with the wisdom of detachment as your foundation. Lesson number 4: the power of controlled response. Imagine stepping into a world where every interaction colors the canvas of your day. Some brushstrokes are vibrant and uplifting, enhancing the beauty of your existence. Then there are those strokes, dark and heavy, left by toxic encounters that seem to alter the entire masterpiece of your day. The ancient Stoics were masters of their minds, not by avoiding difficulty, but by controlling their responses to it. They understood that while we cannot control what others do or say, we have complete sovereignty over how we respond. This is the essence of what Epictetus meant when he said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Your response to toxicity is where your true power lies." When someone directs negativity toward you, you have a choice. You can absorb their energy and become like them, or you can transform that energy through the power of a controlled response. Think of it as being a filter, not a sponge. A filter separates the useful from the harmful, letting only what serves you pass through. Picture yourself taking a deep breath before responding to a provocation. In that moment of pause lies your freedom. That breath creates space between stimulus and response, allowing you to choose wisdom over reactivity. This doesn't mean you never express dissatisfaction or set boundaries. Rather, it means you do so with intention rather than impulse. Your words become deliberate tools rather than weapons flung in the heat of emotion. Practice makes this skill more accessible. Start with small provocations, noticing how a pause before responding changes the entire interaction. Gradually, this practice becomes second nature, a shield protecting your peace in even the most challenging encounters. Lesson number 5: energy conservation and allocation. Have you ever spent time with someone whose energy felt like a thunderstorm? turning your bright day into something dark and chaotic. Navigating interactions with toxic people can deplete even the most resilient spirit. But what if you could protect your energy the way you protect other precious resources? Think of your emotional energy as a finite currency. Every interaction, thought, and reaction costs something from this personal treasury. The wisdom of energy conservation teaches us to invest wisely, spending on what enriches our lives rather than what depletes them. Marcus Aurelius advised, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This understanding becomes your guide in allocating your precious energy. When faced with toxic behavior, ask yourself, does this deserve my energy? Often the answer is no. Not every provocation requires a response. Not every criticism demands defense. And not every negative person deserves your attention. This isn't about avoiding necessary confrontations or being passive. It's about strategic engagement, choosing your battles with wisdom, rather than reacting to every stimulus. Like a skilled martial artist who knows when to engage and when to redirect, you conserve energy by engaging only when truly necessary. Practical energy conservation might look like setting time limits for interactions with draining individuals, preparing mentally before necessary engagements with them, or creating decompression rituals afterward to release any absorbed negativity. Remember that distance can sometimes be your best tool for energy conservation. This might be physical distance when possible, or emotional distance when proximity is unavoidable. You can be physically present while maintaining an inner buffer zone that protects your essential self. Your energy is sacred. Treat it with the reverence it deserves, and watch how this consciousness transforms your interactions with those who previously drained you. Lesson number 6. Goal focus and distraction management. Have you set your sights on something you truly desire, perhaps mastering a skill, reaching a fitness goal, or advancing in your career? The path seems clear until you encounter people or situations that dampen your spirit, like gusts of wind redirecting your course. Consider the story of Maria, who was passionate about launching her creative business. The skepticism came in waves, some questioning her openly, others subtly suggesting safer paths. Rather than becoming entangled in endless debates or seeking validation, Maria channeled her energy into developing her craft and building her business one step at a time. What can we learn from Maria's approach? A steadfast belief in one's vision and a refusal to let negativity detour one's path. The Stoics understood this principle deeply. As Epictetus taught, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Toxic people often attempt to pull us into their narratives, distracting us from our chosen path. By maintaining goal focus, we create a mental shield against these distractions. It's about keeping our eyes fixed on our destination while navigating around obstacles rather than becoming fixated on them. Imagine walking through a marketplace filled with various vendors calling for your attention. Goal focus is like having a specific shop in mind, allowing you to move purposefully through the noise and commotion without being sidetracked. When faced with toxic behavior that threatens to pull you off course, redirect your attention to the next actionable step toward your goal. Ask yourself, what can I do right now to move forward? This question shifts your focus from what's happening to you to what you're creating. Remember, your goals deserve your energy more than toxic interactions do. Choosing to focus on your path isn't selfish, it's strategic. It's the difference between building your own house and endlessly repairing damage caused by others. Lesson number 7. The wisdom of seeking support. Every once in a while, we encounter someone who seems to challenge our peace of mind at every turn. Their presence feels like a storm cloud on a sunny day, and interactions with them leave us feeling drained and unsettled. In these moments, seeking support isn't a sign of weakness, but a demonstration of profound wisdom. The Stoics, contrary to popular belief, didn't advocate isolation in times of struggle. They understood the value of community and counsel. Seneca wrote extensive letters offering guidance to his friend Lucilius, demonstrating that even the wisest among us benefit from the perspective of others. Think of seeking support as adding another reference point to your map. When navigating complex terrain, having multiple perspectives helps you find the most suitable path forward. Those who care about your well-being can offer clarity when your vision is clouded by emotional reactions. Much like how a single candle can illuminate darkness, sharing your struggles with someone who understands can reveal paths you didn't see before. These supportive presences don't fight your battles for you, but remind you of your own inner strength and help you see situations from a more objective standpoint. When selecting those you turn to for support, look for people who embody qualities you admire, who listen without judgment, and who speak truth with compassion. Sometimes the most valuable support comes from those who help us see our blind spots while affirming our capacity to handle challenges. Remember that seeking support doesn't mean outsourcing your power. You remain the primary navigator of your life. Support simply offers additional wisdom to complement your own, like consulting experienced travelers before venturing into unfamiliar territory. In your journey of dealing with toxic people, building a circle of wise, supportive individuals creates a sanctuary where you can regain perspective and renew your strength before returning to face challenges with greater clarity and purpose. Lesson number 8. Mastering internal dialogue. Remember the first time you encountered someone whose energy felt like a dark cloud over a sunny day. We've all experienced the weight of another's negativity. Surprisingly, the way we talk to ourselves in these moments becomes either our greatest strength or our most vulnerable weakness. Think of your mind as a garden and every thought about yourself as a seed. Plant seeds of strength and resilience, and you'll stand tall in the face of negativity. But allow doubts and fears to take root, and toxic weeds begin to choke out everything positive. Epictetus wisely noted, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The true battle with toxic people often takes place not in external interactions, but in our internal dialogue after these encounters. When navigating through someone's negative influence, monitor the conversations you have with yourself. Instead of asking, "Where do I have to deal with this person?" consider asking, "What qualities am I developing through this challenge?" This subtle shift transforms you from victim to student, from passive recipient to active learner. Another powerful tool at your disposal is cognitive distancing, the ability to separate yourself from thoughts about toxic encounters. When someone's comment upsets you, notice the thought arising without becoming entangled in it. "I'm having the thought that his words mean I'm inadequate," is very different from "I'm inadequate because of what he said." Imagine someone's negative comments as arrows. If your sense of self-worth is solid, those arrows might sting momentarily but cannot penetrate your core. This doesn't mean you won't feel the impact sometimes, but you understand these arrows wound only if you give them power to define you. Take a moment to reflect. How often do you let external negativity infiltrate your self-talk? Controlling this doesn't require building walls around your heart, but rather knowing your worth so deeply that external opinions cannot shake it. Remember, the person with the most influence over your internal dialogue is always you. Choose your words to yourself as carefully as a poet selects verses, knowing they shape the reality you inhabit. Lesson number 9. The solution-oriented mindset. Do you ever wonder how to handle those inevitably difficult people who cross your path? It's like walking through dense fog where every step feels uncertain and the air heavy with tension. The key lies in developing a solution-oriented mindset firmly rooted in Stoic principles. This approach transforms toxic interactions from sources of frustration into opportunities for personal growth and emotional mastery. Rather than focusing on the problem, direct your energy toward possible solutions, asking, "What can I do to improve this situation?" As Marcus Aurelius advised, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This perspective invites us to see challenges not as obstacles, but as paths forward, each one offering unique lessons that strengthen our character. Implementing a solution-oriented mindset requires creative thinking. Approach toxic interactions like a chess player, considering several moves ahead without becoming emotionally entangled in the game. This means listening more than speaking and responding with deliberate calmness when you do speak. This strategic creativity allows you to maintain your composure while not getting pulled into drama or conflict. You become the eye of the hurricane, steady and centered while chaos swirls around you. Adaptability becomes your ally in these moments. Like a tree firmly rooted yet flexible in the wind, you remain true to your values while adjusting your approach based on what will most effectively resolve the situation. This resilience strengthens your character and equips you with tools to face future challenges. When presented with toxicity or manipulation, remember that while you cannot control others' behavior, your response remains entirely your choice. By incorporating this Stoic solution-oriented mindset, you're not just avoiding negativity's pitfalls, but actively shaping a life of integrity and peace. The next time you encounter a difficult person, pause and ask yourself, "What solution can I bring to this situation?" This simple question shifts your focus from problem to possibility, from victim to creator. Lesson number 10, selective engagement. Choose your battles wisely. This ancient advice has never been more relevant than in our hyper-connected world, where every interaction can feel consequential. When dealing with toxic people, navigating these potential conflicts becomes like walking through a minefield, never knowing when you might trigger an explosion of negativity. The key is understanding that not every provocation requires a response, and not every battle is yours to fight. Some conflicts are simply energy drains with no positive outcome possible, regardless of how skillfully you engage. Recognizing this can preserve your mental and emotional resources for matters that truly deserve your attention. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, taught that wisdom includes knowing what to overlook. Sometimes the most powerful action you can take is non-action, a deliberate choice not to engage. When toxic people direct negativity toward you, they're often seeking a reaction, any indication that their words have affected you. By choosing not to engage, you remove the fuel that feeds their fire. This doesn't mean ignoring genuine problems that need addressing. Rather, it's about discerning which engagements will lead to productive outcomes and which will only perpetuate cycles of negativity. Ask yourself, is this conversation likely to produce anything positive, or am I merely being baited into conflict? When you do choose to engage, approach the interaction with curiosity rather than confrontation. Asking thoughtful questions can shift the dynamic from argument to exploration, potentially transforming a toxic exchange into something more constructive. This approach won't work in every situation, and that's acceptable. Your goal isn't winning every interaction, but maintaining your dignity and peace throughout. On this battlefield, empathy becomes your shield and patience your sword. Attempting to understand another's perspective doesn't mean you agree with them or condone their behavior. It simply means you recognize that everyone is fighting their own battles, some of which remain hidden from view. Practicing patience gives you time to respond fully rather than react impulsively. This doesn't signal weakness but wisdom, the understanding that measured responses typically produce better outcomes than hasty reactions fueled by emotion. Take a moment to reflect on your encounters with difficult people. Are there recurring patterns in these interactions? Are there battles you've been fighting that simply aren't worth your peace of mind? Remember, being stoic doesn't mean becoming emotionless, but choosing carefully where to invest your emotional energy. Lesson number 11. Detecting inauthentic goodwill. Have you noticed how quickly a seemingly pleasant conversation can transform into something uncomfortable or even hostile? It's like watching clouds darken before a storm. Learning to detect inauthentic goodwill can be your personal radar, alerting you to approaching emotional weather before it drenches you in negativity. Genuinely supportive people maintain consistent behavior regardless of who's watching or what they stand to gain. False cordiality, however, shifts like sand dunes in the wind, revealing itself through inconsistency and conditional kindness. As Seneca observed, the mask of the contrived person seldom stays in place. Body language often reveals what words conceal. A smile that doesn't reach the eyes, arms crossed defensively, or a stance that indicates readiness to withdraw. These subtle signals can speak volumes about a person's true intentions. While words can deceive, the body often tells the truth without permission. Listen carefully to what remains unsaid. A voice that sounds artificially pleasant or laughter that seems discordant with the conversation signals potential insincerity. These nuances of communication are like invisible threads pulling at your intuition, guiding you toward a clearer understanding of what truly lies beneath the surface. Observe patterns over time. A single inconsistency might be meaningless, but recurring discrepancies between someone's words and actions reveal a deeper truth about their character. Like a skilled detective, collect these small evidences until a clearer picture emerges. Developing this awareness isn't about becoming paranoid or mistrusting everyone you meet. Rather, it's about seeing clearly so you can invest your trust and vulnerability where they're likely to be honored. It's about creating space for authentic connections while protecting yourself from those who wear masks of friendship to serve their own agendas. Remember, your peace is a precious resource. Guard it with discernment, trusting your intuition when it signals that something about an interaction feels forced or false. The ability to detect inauthentic goodwill isn't just a defensive skill. It's the foundation for building a life surrounded by genuine connections that nurture rather than deplete you. Lesson number 12. Practicing strategic empathy. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to radiate toxicity? Behind every difficult behavior lies a story, a wound, or a struggle that has shaped that person's way of moving through the world. Strategic empathy allows us to recognize this without becoming entangled in their negative patterns. Unlike unconditional empathy, which can leave us vulnerable to manipulation, strategic empathy maintains healthy boundaries while still acknowledging the humanity in others. It's like observing a storm from shelter, recognizing its power without standing directly in its path. Epictetus taught, "When you are offended at any man's fault, turn to yourself and study your own failings. Then you will forget your anger." This perspective invites us to see difficult people not as enemies, but as mirrors reflecting aspects of the human condition we all share. Understanding someone's motivation doesn't require condoning their behavior. You can recognize that a person lashes out from their own pain without accepting their treatment as appropriate. This distinction protects your boundaries while expanding your perspective. Strategic empathy gives you access to wisdom that reactivity obscures. When you understand what drives another's behavior, you gain insight into how to navigate interactions more effectively. It's like having a map of difficult terrain, allowing you to choose your path with greater awareness. This practice also protects you from taking toxic behavior personally. When you recognize that another's actions stem from their internal landscape rather than your worth, their power to wound you diminishes. Their words become more about their story than about you. Cultivate this skill by asking yourself reflective questions when faced with difficult behavior. What might this person be struggling with? What fear or pain could be driving this interaction? These questions shift your focus from judgment to understanding without sacrificing your well-being. Remember that strategic empathy is not about fixing others or bearing responsibility for their healing. It's about navigating human complexity with wisdom and compassion while honoring your own needs and boundaries. This balance allows you to move through toxic interactions with greater ease and less residual distress. Lesson number 13. The art of graceful disengagement. There comes a point in some relationships when the wisest course of action is to create distance. This doesn't indicate failure or weakness, but rather a profound understanding of where your energy is best invested. Graceful disengagement is the final strategy in our arsenal for dealing with toxic people, a skill that honors both yourself and the other person. Unlike abrupt severance, which often creates additional conflict, graceful disengagement allows relationships to naturally transform or conclude without unnecessary drama. It's like a river changing course, finding a new path without violently disrupting the landscape. Musonius Rufus, a Stoic philosopher known for his practical wisdom, taught that we should carefully consider which relationships nurture our best selves and which hinder our growth. This discernment isn't selfish but essential for living with integrity and purpose. Creating distance might be physical, emotional, or both, depending on the circumstances. Sometimes it means limiting interactions to specific contexts, reducing their frequency, or establishing clearer boundaries around what you will and won't accept in the relationship. When disengaging, focus on what you're moving toward rather than what you're leaving behind. This positive framing maintains your energy and purpose rather than keeping you tied to the past through resentment or regret. Ask yourself, what growth or peace becomes possible when I create this space? Remember that disengagement doesn't require explanation or justification to be valid. While clear communication can sometimes be helpful, you aren't obligated to convince anyone of the legitimacy of your boundaries. Your well-being is reason enough. This process often brings complex emotions, including guilt, doubt, or grief for what could have been. Acknowledge these feelings without letting them pull you back into unhealthy patterns. Like seasons changing, relationships naturally evolve, and sometimes completion is the healthiest outcome. Graceful disengagement isn't about closing your heart, but about directing your openness where it can flourish. It creates space for new connections that align more closely with who you're becoming and supports your journey toward your highest potential. The wisdom of the Stoics offers us a path through life's most challenging relationships, not by controlling others but by mastering ourselves. These 13 strategies provide a roadmap for maintaining your peace amid toxicity, transforming potential suffering into opportunities for growth. Remember that practicing these principles isn't about achieving perfection, but about making incremental progress. Each time you respond rather than react, each boundary you honor, each moment you choose your well-being, you strengthen the foundation of your inner fortress. The journey of applying Stoic wisdom to difficult relationships is ongoing. Be patient with yourself as you integrate these practices into your life. Like any worthy skill, Mastery comes through consistent practice and compassionate self-correction. I invite you to choose one strategy from today's exploration that resonates most deeply with you. Focus on implementing this single practice in your daily interactions, noticing how it shifts your experience. Small, consistent changes create profound transformation over time. May you move through life's challenges with the steady calm of a stoic, transforming every encounter, even the difficult ones, into opportunities for becoming your best self.